To make an announcement, and Professor Ladd does not know his family had planned such. Being an educator, I should be able to do this off the cuff, but I don't want to goof it up, so I'm going to read from my notes. Last month, Professor Ladd was awarded the American Society of Civil Engineers Outstanding Project and Leaders Lifetime Achievement Award for his contributions to engineering education. This award, which is called the Opal Award for short, will be officially awarded to Professor Ladd next March in Washington, D.C. For someone of his accomplishments and professional stature, Professor Ladd is very modest, but his family and Elaine felt that this occasion, with so many friends, colleagues, students, and family members here, that we should celebrate this fantastic achievement. For all us engineers here, ASCE is our most prominent and important professional society, and the Opal Award recognizes the very best. Of course, Professor Ladd has received numerous distinguished awards over his career, but what is so fitting about the Opal Award is that it recognizes him for his contributions to education, and thus beautifully unites with his other outstanding honors, which were largely for his research and engineering practice accomplishments, with the two most notable ones being his election to the U.S. National Academy of Engineers and his Terzaghi Lecture Award. I know that Professor Ladd is extremely proud to receive the Opal Award, especially because it recognizes him for his contributions to education. A few months ago, before he was told that he would receive this award, he was selected for another major honor. In a soon-to-be-released issue of one of our professional publications, Professor Ladd will be honored as a geo-legend. Only the fifth person to be so honored as such. In preparation of this article, he was interviewed this past summer, and I asked him at the time what some of the questions were, and he told me one of them was, what do you think is your most significant contribution to geotechnical engineering? And he told me, he answered that he was most proud of the effort that he put into his teaching at MIT. I'm not sure if that would be the first thing that many other famous MIT professors would think or care about. So how fitting is it that soon after this interview was conducted, he found out that he was going to be awarded the Opal Award for his contributions to engineering education. While talking this morning with Dr. Susanna Lacasse about the Opal Award, she summed it up very well by saying, "It is perfect that Professor Ladd's Opal Award is in recognition for his teaching. Think of the hundreds upon hundreds of students that he taught that are now engineers, researchers, and educators worldwide. Indeed, this is an immense and everlasting contribution. We just need to look around here and see all of us, far and wide and in every level of geotechnical engineering, who have made the time with great joy to come here to celebrate your 80th birthday." Although I'm sure right now, many of Professor Ladd's former students here are thinking back to their days at MIT and taking his courses, and perhaps some small panic attacks are starting to sink in. I've taken a course where most students were scared silly during class. He liked to ask students questions. Sometimes he would go randomly, sometimes forward alphabetical order, sometimes reverse alphabetical order, sometimes row by row. We already learned that, given his meticulous nature and how deliberate he was, that our name was soon coming and there was no chance of being skipped. It was bad enough waiting in horror in anticipation for our turn, but he had a habit of letting one student attempt to answer a question, and after that student fumbled through it, he would turn to the next person and say, "Do you agree with so-and-so's answer to that?" Of course, we were nervous because Professor has such a thorough, deep knowledge of soil behavior. He literally is the guru, and we did not want to disappoint him. So imagine my surprise when some years after graduating from MIT, Professor Ladd told me that it was not until over 20 years into his teaching career that he was no longer nervous before giving a lecture to us lowly graduate students. I think his anxiety was driven by such a strong desire to thoroughly understand the lecture material and to get it completely right. His preparation for lectures and the attention to detail in his lectures and the handouts all marked with CCL in the date, just like the cake over here, are surely unmatched in our profession. I think the vast majority of us, it was far and away the most organized and meticulously prepared, the most intense courses we have ever taken. What a gift to us, and you probably don't say this enough, but we are so grateful for your efforts and dedication on this, and we are delighted that you are receiving formal recognition for this via the Opal Award. And I can't help but digress here for a moment and relate Professor Ladd's teaching habits to his non-professional hobbies. I'm sure a few of you here have had the pleasure of indulging in. In the 1980s, he decided to start playing golf right here at the Concord Country Club. And as I'm sure you would all predict, he attacked the game with the same approach and concentration as he does solid behavior. He soon started to compile a dizzying array of statistics on his game using the most sophisticated handwritten version of Excel that I've ever seen. Hole-by-hole scores for every game played, average score for each hole, best score ever on each hole, least number of putts ever on each hole, best all cumulative score ever, and on and on and on. He developed a crib sheet that he carries with him on the golf course that is loaded with information for each hole, such as the yardage from certain features to the hole, which is actually not uncommon for serious golfers. But of course, he took it to another level. He had distances from the large oak trees, the small oak trees, the northern pine trees, the western pine trees, and on and on. I think golf is a game that tends to reveal a person's true personality. And in the case of Professor Ladd, he is by far the most detail-oriented golfer I've ever met. But he's also the most honest one I've ever played with. I have one last closing comment. Some of you may know that Professor Ladd, Dr. Lacoste, and I are working on a book on soft ground construction. It is indeed a great honor for Dr. Lacoste and I to be working with Chuck on this. And in the early stages of this endeavor, we had a discussion on timing. And Matt kind of alluded to this in his comments. That is, how are we going to write chapters and keep to a reasonable time schedule? At which point, Professor Ladd turned to me and very seriously said, and I quote, "I should warn you that sometimes I get pretty anal about things." To which I nearly lost my composure and almost blurted out, "You think?" But that's part of your gift. We admire your dedication, your attention to detail, your integrity, and we love you for it. Congratulations on such a well-deserved award. We are so proud and happy.